My guest today is Onyinyechi J Nwosu, fondly called OJN, a gender and child rights activist, public speaker and author with nearly 2 decades of experience. OJN and I met back in 2017. I remember it so vividly like it was yesterday when she was subbing over the case of Victoria, a 16-year-old homeless epileptic girl who was raped and had been rescued by my mom. We met in Abia State University Teaching Hospital, ABSUT in Aba. It was impossible to get over how compassionate she was about women and girls. I remember writing OJN a very long text message on my mom's BlackBerry phone, telling her how I wanted her to be my mentor in January 2018. OJN obliged. OJN took me under her wings and would take me everywhere she goes. TV, radio, conferences, school and church visits. I was serving as her right-hand person, personal assistant, and so much more. In October 2018, OJN asked me to represent her in Owerri for an International Day of the Girl Child event. Till this day, that's the biggest stage I've ever spoken on. That day, I spoke on the same stage with governors' wives, professors and heads of university departments, and other established women, simply because my mentor gave me a chance. OJN gave me my first roll-on as a teenage girl. Should we start talking about all the clothes and shoes? She's a gift that doesn't ever stop giving. I love to describe her as my quintessential mother, mentor, and model. Meeting OJN 8 years ago and hearing her own her story during our school tours helped me heal from my own childhood abuse experiences. She made me feel seen and heard. I knew that if someone like OJN went through all she did and still emerged successful, then I too can. That is the same story you'll be hearing today. In a world where cases of child sexual abuse isn't taken seriously, OJN has made it her life mission to be the loudest and most consistent voice on issues surrounding child abuse in Africa. She does this through her non-profit organization, Vivacious Development Initiative, and through her books, and by speaking both on local and international stages. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the episode. Hi,
Mama
I'm
OJN,
God's
you're
Light
welcome
Agu,
to
and this is the
Onyinyechi
Onyinyechi podcast. Being a woman
Today,
is hard
thank you
enough,
so much for
but being a
coming.
woman in Africa, even harder.
Thank you for having
You're
me.
expected to be a
Delight.
good daughter,
It's a
a
pleasure
good
to be
wife,
here.
a good mother, and
Yeah,
still slay in
nice
your
story.
career.
You
Yeah,
laugh at where we
expectations
tell
from
our stories.
everywhere:
It's
family,
interesting.
friends,
It's
culture,
interesting. Congratulations on
society,
this.
religion. The
Thank you so
list
much,
goes
Ma.
on.
So
And
before
every
we
day we face
even get
challenges:
into the
physical,
story, because a lot
emotional,
of people will be hearing
financial,
your voice
and
for the very
even
first time
professional.
today. They've
Sometimes
probably not
you
heard
stop
about
and
you.
wonder,
Can
is
you
all
just
of
do
this
a quick
even worth it?
introduction?
Only
Tell
It
them
is
who
a
you are, what
podcast
you
where
do,
African women
you
tell
know,
unfiltered
just some
stories
of the
of
projects
resilience,
you're working
healing,
on, or
and
anything you
truth
would like
in
them
their
to know
own
about
words. We're here to
OJN.
help women own their stories, the good, the
Okay,
bad,
I'm
and the
Ambassador
ugly.
Onyinyechi J
As a
Nwosu.
storyteller and lover of
I'm
stories
a
myself,
child
I'll be
development and
inviting some
safety
of my female
consultant.
friends and women I
I'm
deeply
a parenting
admire.
coach.
Together,
I'm
we'll
a women
laugh,
and girls'
cry,
rights
unlearn,
advocate,
and
a
grow
gender
as they share
advocate.
the battles they
I work
fought,
with
the
parents,
boldness it took to become
schools,
who they are. If you've ever
organizations
felt
to ensure
unseen,
the holistic
unheard, or
development and safety
unworthy,
of
this
children.
space is for you.
I
New
write
episodes
about
drop every
parenting.
Wednesday, so be sure to
I
subscribe and
read
join the
about
conversation every week. Like
before I
Michelle
forget,
Obama once said,
I'm
your
Africa's
story
number
is
one
what you
voice
have, what you
against
always
child
have.
sexual
It
abuse,
is something to own.
to the
So
point
let's
that
own
some
it
people call
together.
him Madam Child
Welcome
Sexual Abuse.
to the Owning It podcast.
I have a book on preventing child sexual abuse for parents. I also have my precious gifts for children from ages 1 to 12. Or there's a child safety kits for understanding and preventing sexual abuse. I'm presently working on 10 costly mistakes loving parents make. You know how it's like you love your child so much and you mean well, but you love in such a way that your love hurts the child and affects his or her holistic development. Those are the few I can remember. I do a lot of things, and I am the founder and executive director of Vivacious Development Initiative, VDI. VD is a gender and child focused non-profit organization that has its headquarters in Aba, Abia State, Nigeria. We are committed to ensuring the well-being of women, girls, and children. We are committed to ending all forms of sexual and gender-based violence against children and women. including persons with disabilities. In recent times, we've been working with Southeast Deaf Women Organization, and it's been an interesting engagement, I must tell you. So we hope to do more with women and girls and children with disabilities. So for us at VD, it's about inclusivity. It's about ensuring that everyone's right is respected, irrespective of their gender. We do a lot more. We do a lot OGN, VD, yes. And I thought, like I said, go to schools, go to religious organizations, go to communities. So I'm always available anywhere you call me. So I'm known for teaching children assertiveness training. And one thing that stands out with OGN as a brand in teaching children everything that has to do with sexuality and generally is we observe age appropriateness. So it is something that I give to myself, or we don't get in and just talk to children because they think you know something. So I do age appropriate teaching for young people and assertiveness training, helping them recognize, respond appropriately, and report all forms of abuse on them. I think I should stop there for now.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that introduction. So, OGL is actually everything she said she is. So, don't think she's not even blowing her trumpet enough. So, just so that everyone gets a background to, because I mean you've done quite a lot, and I think you forgot to mention that you've been playing in this space for close to 2 decades now. You've been doing this thing.
Oh, yes.
It's not like you're not a newbie. You're an OG in the game. So it brings me to the very first question for today. Why do you do what you do? What is the driving force? What keeps you going? Can you just take us back to, who Onyinyechi was before the world knew her as this women rights advocate, this girl child voice, this Madam Sexual Abuse? What was childhood like for you, and what are some of the memories that just stay with you till now?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it just shot me back to my village. Yeah, this is, there's a young lady, Onyinyechi J Nwosu, who grew up with her grandmother in the community called Onyinyechi in the Isialangwa South local government area of Abia State. I was raised by my grandmom, having been given birth by a single mother. I guess you can imagine how that is back then. So I grew up with my grandma with all the love, I must tell you, from my maternal family. My aunt was there, my mom's younger sister. She was the support I had. I always tell people I was privileged to have 3 mothers: my grandmom, my aunt, then my mom, whom I never really stayed with at the late stage of my life. She used to come in because she went back to school. After school, she remarried. So I was with my grandmom. Life was good. But then a lot of things happened. A lot happened. And I had everything I needed as a young person, as a child. But as adolescence, the stage of adolescence began to come, I realized a lot of things. It was later in life I discovered that those things have to happen when they happen. The experiences I passed through, I went through in my childhood, I call them, it was like preparing me for life proper. I introduced myself as a person who has a first degree from the University of Life because I had everything, I experienced it. And I also had a first degree from Teenage Challenges. Now back to childhood proper before I even get to adolescence. My grandmom was one of the strongest women in the community, mostly respected, a home where anyone who wanted to have a child properly raised will send one of his or her children to the home, where all the religious leaders, whenever they come, whether it was her own church, another one, will come to identify with the family because she was the woman who would give out her food stuff, who will provide food, who will send you, oh, take this food, go to that pastor of that church and go and give. So that simply mean that our home was very busy home. where you have people coming in, men, women, boys, girls. And you know what? That's what most parents have not come to understand. That's what led me to where I am today. Being in the home where your parents, your grandparents, anyone provided help for everyone, left me at the mercy of everyone. So I was abused physically, sexually, at limits. When I talk and someone asks me why they go, how many times were you raped? I said, I wasn't raped. I was never defiled in the proper sense of faith. But I was, this is the mistake many people make until today, is that they take child sexual abuse to mean that there has been a penetration. So the period of grooming, which happens in the life of every child, almost every child, that period is being ignored, being neglected. And that's why I am where I am today. I was saved from actual penetration by my personality. I guess the Almighty Father just made me that person that has spoken, who could defend herself at that point, to the point that to ensure that didn't happen. But then it didn't save me from all the touching, all the things that went with it, because they were afraid. They knew I would talk. They had the name. I've always told you that one. They call me on as in the sharp mouth. Yeah. I will say a lot of things. I will insult you. But the thing about coming from a very religious home, you too, I know you experienced such a thing, is I wasn't able to disclose what I was going through, what was happening to me, to my grandmother, neither to my uncle, who was already then a lecturer at the University of Soka. Or the family is well educated, but I wasn't able, because these things are never said. And you that is happening to be feeling guilty. To make matters worse, the people who were exploiting me, because that's what it was, the people who were harassing me were close, people who were actually very close to the family. So they knew that I could not mention that. And when you say, I'm going to tell them, I say, she'll beat you now. You get it? So these were the things that prepared me to say, oh no, I am not going to let any girl, any child, because I realized that it wasn't just about the girl child. The boy child is also involved. But it has always been more of female children and having more males as perpetrators. That said, there's also the tendency, in fact, it happens, of adolescent females in one's home also touching inappropriately on the little child. So all those happened to me. So I grew up to a point, by the time I was in secondary school, I already knew I didn't like what was happening to me, but I wasn't able to tell anyone. I got to the university. I'm cutting off a lot of things now. By the time I finished the university education, a lot of people were looking for a job. I also started looking for a job. As at that time, I don't know how it's like now. What was in vogue was bank jobs. Everybody wanted to work in the bank. In fact, not everyone wanted, but that was what was available. So I joined. I started writing applications. Yeah, just do whatever. I did the job. I started writing applications. I started attending tests, interviews. On one particular one, I still remember Standard Trust Bank. Now all of them are now into GTP, right? Because it's that my bank at Standard that became my GC. Standard Trust Bank. After the first test, which I only got to know about just the night, 2 days before that day, a young man gathered us and calling the results. Okay, those of you who had this, please come and meet me at Soso Hotel. He was giving appointments different. And I asked him, excuse me, is that where the interview is going to take place? The interview is going to take. He said, well, it means you don't want to get the job. I left. I went home. I was staying then in Benin with my friend's mom. I finished from the University of Benin. And I went for youth service in Makodi, Benue State. I came back to Benin. I didn't want to go home. Home was safe, but I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay out, do something for myself, go home, having a name, doing something that anybody would want to identify with. I wasn't sure what that thing was going to be at then. And something had happened. My growing up years, because I skipped that part. As an adolescent, I got to a point where my name was in the name of every mouth that is salt and pepper. I don't know if you read Anoa. There's this thing that every Anoa's name, there's a literature text. Anoa's name being in the mouth of every name, being in the mouth of everyone that eats salt and pepper. Everybody was identifying me with something that was ugly, things I never did, things I never dreamt of, things I know I would never do. And all this came from our society's way of looking at any child who was giving birth to out of wedlock.
Yes.
To them, nothing good will come out of you. So I had that at the back of my mind. I wanted to make a name. I wanted people to take back their words. I wanted them to ask their children to look up to me. And you know what? I'm glad today that almost everybody in that community will tell the child, can't you look at Onyinyechi? Can't you be like her? So I made that. It was a vow I made to myself and I fulfilled it. And all glory to God, I wouldn't have done it on my own. So while in Benin, trying to get that job, I went back and the day the results, the second results, because I passed this first one. I didn't see my name on the board. I went up to the young man and said, I didn't see my name. What happened? The person he asked me, were you really expected to see your name there when you refused to come and see? So I asked him, young man, you are not even a branch manager. And this interview is supposed to go on and on and on to the national, regional level. So if I had to sleep with men to get this job, how many of them am I going to sleep with? And I would rather go look for your regional manager than sleep with you. So I went home to mommy. That's my friend's mom. That's why we are so very close. She's late now. I got home. I just said, mommy, can you imagine what happened today? Look at. He said, please, Joy, sit down. I've made pounded yam for you and also made black soup. That she was just thinking about how she was going to tell me that I don't even belong there. That because she was, according to him, she knew that I wasn't going to be able to do a banking job. I've always wanted to interact with people. So we left it there. Yeah. I ate my pounded yam. I ate a black soup. I relaxed, continued my job search. Then I can't remember the exact year now. I don't know how many of you know about Success Digest magazine then. Produced by Social Attitude Development Center in Lagos. There was this thing that came out. There was an entrepreneur and it was like a scholarship for entrepreneurs. Because I was then addicted to Success Digest magazine. Many young people, many old people, right? People who were seeking for success. Because I must tell you, the late Pastor Ujebase and his wife did something great with that organization and the magazine. I was addicted. So I saw that thing and it was a free, if you take a test, you pass the test, you go for a 3 weeks, all sponsored, expensive paid entrepreneurs conference kind of thing. We stayed there. The good thing was it's brought in people from different parts of the country, different religion. It didn't matter. And we were taken into to go through what would I call it now? Everything that has to do with business. Starting from business plans. Some of us who thought they were doing business, they realized they didn't even know what they were doing. But then something happened to me during that training. It was a 3 weeks training on entrepreneur studies. So as I speak, I have a certificate on entrepreneur studies from Success Attitude Development Center in Lagos. So during that, one of the things that happened to me was we did a personality test. You know, I conduct personality tests for young people today. That's the history. That's where it came from. Because I realized many people jump into things without really understanding themselves. So we conducted a personality test. And the man in charge just said, young lady, you're looking for a job. Why are you looking for a job? You should be doing something that's not looking for a job.
Wow.
Or like, what exactly is that? Am I supposed to do? So you figure it out. The questions, your response to the questions, everything you did, you are at the wrong place. You're searching for your help on the wrong place. So I continued. But then before I left there, I had results that I was going to do. I had started doing something for girls. I would go to, by then I was already living in Port Harcourt. I moved from Benin to Port Harcourt, staying at my aunt's place. So I would go to churches, go to schools, talk to girls. I was just focusing on girls, talk basically then on sexuality education. So by the time I left there, I had seen the need to have an organization registered. I didn't know, funny enough, I didn't know what an NGO or civil society organization was then. Because business people were talking to us, they mentioned you have to do CAC, you have to do that. So I came back. I went to register. The name Vivacious came. I don't know where it came from. I searched and it had to do with livelihood, the girl child, being lively, being active. So I went to CAC, I registered Vivacious, um, Vivacious something that had to do with business, it had to do with services then. It had to do with services. Yeah. So it was much later that I had to register Vivacious Development Initiative. When I now understood that the work I was doing wasn't just about, it wasn't something you do in business name and go. So and now it's my time to register the NGO. After I've done many years, when we talk about, I think I started this work around 2008. It's later registered VD much later. And then I began to work with people, working alone, then started working with people like you. The thing about what I do and what we do is that it is the work that attracts people to you. You don't go out looking for people. So my life has been there ever since then, being out there, working for the world, working for people, ensuring as much as possible that no child goes through what I passed through. But the challenge is that the parents need to be aware. The parents need to understand. The parents need to cooperate. And that's what we don't always get. So I just sad today that despite all our efforts, that we still have, in fact, there's an increased number of child molestation. Well, whether it's increased or what, because of the social media, people now come out to report and people are becoming more aware. And many of them are actually preventable. That's what breaks my heart. Many of them are preventable. Because unlike then, when we had no one to talk to us in the village, today you have an opportunity of talking to people. But whatever you tell a child, when the mother or father is not a part of it, not your partner in that thing, you will not achieve, your success will be minimal.
Yeah.
But if parents understand and key in, you find out that the child is going to not just listen to you one-off at school or in their church, it's going to think. Today, I'm the State coordinator for Child Protection Network Nigeria, and we are out there trying to also protect children. It is still the same challenge. So what I would say is that Onyinyechi wants to have moved from the poor, hopeless. Let's say hopeless. I was also hopeless at the time. The girl, the village girl who had no focus, but only knew she needed to succeed, who used to sing behind her grandmother's kitchen. And of course, I'll get more. My grandmother always tell you, you're singing behind the house. Then others are at the front. So she always laugh at me. First, I came under this I was tightly held. The same person who is telling you that your others are outside singing will not allow you go out. I never really mixed up with other children. So my life was streamlined to the point. Is the other church, you're going to school, or you're at home, you're reading your Bible. Another mistake parents made. So we now grew up. I have moved from there to become a global voice. Yes. I am a public speaker, not just within the Nigeria space, at the global space, and I have been globally recognized. I have several awards from the International Internship University, India. In fact, I was 2022. I was World Book of Records by International Internship University for one of the most enterprising women who are trying to make impact in the world. And that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me because coming from where my voice could hardly be heard, where I had no one to speak to know that I am being recognized for speaking for that women, for speaking for justice, for speaking for children. That means a lot to me. I may not have made it in the society like ours, where success means being, having your bank accounts fully loaded. You understand? That's what, yes. To many have not made it. But for me, I have. and I'll continue to. And all I'll say is, I'm not going to give up. I like old wine, I get better by the day. And talking about children, talking about women, talking about girls, yes, I will continue to. Someone asked me, why do you even talk? You've never been, you were not that woman when you started talking about women. That's the part of me that people want to know.
Quick break. I want to tell you about something really special. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, mentally drained, or like nobody really gets you, I know a space that might just change everything. It's called Mutation Monthly Series, a talk show I'm a part of where young people between 16 and 35 gather every last Sunday of the month to talk real talk about our mental health, our emotions, and healing in a world that doesn't always make room for it. It's completely free, super chill, and honestly feels more like a conversation with friends than an event. You can join us physically in Lagos at number 13 George's Co Estate off College Road, Oba. Or if you're not in Lagos, no worries. We stream live on YouTube. Just search Mutation Monthly Series, subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on post notifications to get notified when we go live. If you want to register, head over to Team Mutation International on Instagram and tap the link in bio. Healing looks different for everyone. This might just be what yours looks like.
Well, there are two reasons. First is, as a child advocate, as one who mentors children, you can actually not deal with a child without the mother being involved. The mom is the one who takes care of the children. That's one. Then, secondly, on sexual and gender based violence, I got into it because my mom was also a victim of domestic violence to a large extent. I witnessed it. I spoke to her. I didn't see the reason for which she endured all that she endured. So what I do today is to tell women, look, you don't have to endure violence. You don't have to die. You need to step out. It is better you step out and stay alive than die in it. The children you think you are protecting, you are for whose sake you are staying in that toxic relationship will be worse off when you die. So that is the other part of me that many people do not know. Yes, I was able to put my mom out of the toxic marriage she was in. And thank God today she's 81. We just celebrated her 81st birthday. And wow, she's there for me. Yeah, she would have been dead by now if she had continued because of what the society would say. That is why women stay in what they stay. That is also the reason for which many young people get married to people they know they cannot cope with. I'm talking about young people. I'm also talking about the males. You know the pressure it's like to be single. I know what it's like today. People intentionally put that pressure on you. I get into a place and someone asked me to write my name, how you want to be addressed. I write my name, Onyinyechi J Nwosu. I'll ask ambassador if I want. And the person goes on stage and says, I'm calling forth Mrs. Onyinyechi J Nwosu. That's their way of putting pressure on you. That's their way of telling you, hey, there's something you've not achieved. And you know what I do? I sit back tight on my seat because it's not my name that is being called. No one is going to put that pressure on me. I'm not going to let it happen. And that's what I'm saying to every single lady that's going to listen to this, that will hear this today. You get married because you want to, and to the person you wish to have or to be married to, or have a relationship, whether sexual or anyone, to someone when you want because you want it, and when you want it, not because anyone is putting pressure on you. You don't do anything as an adult for anybody's sake. That is what I would say today. So I have moved from the village of course, moving from that village boys for 2025, I am going back to the village because I want to, from now henceforth, many of the activities that VD will carry out is going to take place in that same village. To me, that is giving back to the society. And that is also my way of saying thank you.
This is really bad. This thing that happened is really, really bad. At what point did you realize?
Realize that it was bad?
Yes.
I knew it was bad from day one.
Okay.
I told you.
How young were you, like, when it all started?
as young as I can remember. First, the stigmatization started from day one in my life. It was obvious, despite being given everything, the gap in the family. At every second, for anything you do, someone will remind you, whether by speech, whether by action or inaction, okay? Remind you that, look, you had out of wedlock. You actually shouldn't be, you're like a burden. That was there from day one. From day one of my life, it was there. Then for the sexual, for the sexual abuse, this is why I tell parents, don't wait. Because as early as 4, 5 years, I was a child who was daunting. I was a child who was well loved. I had this body, very robust body, and people were always coming around. We are always coming around, trying to play with you. So those things came there. I can't remember from a very early age, 4, 5, I started sensing this. But of course, it got worse. And I became an adolescent. And of that time, I was already rebelling, the rebellion that comes with adolescence. Because nobody was paying attention to me. So I felt being rebellious was the way out. And at that point, nobody was now listening to me again. She has done this. She will do it. Yes, we know she will. And that was at the point. I told you I attended the University of Benin. As at the time I was writing jam, my late uncle was a professor at the University of Osaka. Another auntie was at the University of Port Harcourt. Then we have a but I wanted to be away from the family to find myself, to take care of myself, to show that I will survive, that I can survive without them. So, yeah. I missed a very important aspect. I missed the part after I finished secondary school. I had to stay at home because, you were supposed to go to further your education. And this is when you now realize that you are everybody's child but nobody's child.
Yeah.
It's a very painful part for any young person, and enough to break any young person. Many people you see today who have problems, who take the wrong paths, who are taking the wrong path, people criticize them, had some pressures, had some issues. So at that point, yes, I later in life understood. My uncles had their own family to deal with. My aunties, nobody told me, but as a young person, I felt that no one wanted to take care of me. You understand? Life comes in phases that you understand. And my mom was there dealing with her own marital wahala. She was in Kano with her husband, dealing with her own marital issues. She was in Kano with her husband and the man's own children from his late wife, and she was having a lot of issues. But when she got to know that I was staying alone and nothing was happening because my grandmom had become sick and my uncle had taken her away to Soka to join them. So I was not living alone in the big compound. This episode will not be enough for me to tell you my experience during that time. When the people who were supposed to protect you will come to pray you. But by then I was already aggressive. I was already angry. I could defend myself. By then I have lost fear. Fear turned to anger. Yes, today I don't know what it means to be afraid of night or anything. I used to be a very fearful child. But at that point I had lost anger. I had lost fear. So I'd been overtaken by anger. So if you want to attack me, you get it back. As a young girl of 16, 17, I used to sleep then with a machete under my bed. It was that big.
Wow.
Yes. Because the village there, not now that everywhere has been cleared, it used to be bushy and everything. It was that part. So when I left, my mom sent for me. I went to Kano to join her. Well, to everybody else, it was the beginning of a new life. But for me, it was the beginning of another tussle, another problem. Because her so-called husband chose to also abuse me sexually. He made moves. Of course, he couldn't. But, under the terms we talking about child sexual abuse, what he did also amounted to it. Trying to do something with me, trying to have a sexual relation with me meant he abused me. But then I was old enough to defend myself, to let him know I didn't want it because my mom had traveled and left me. Left him in the house with me, myself, myself, and his younger children. The older ones have left. They were on their own. So he made this party and I refused. It was Hamatan season in Kano. Anybody who has stayed in the north, we know. But I was so afraid I had to bring out a chair outside to sleep outside. It was so cold. So when neighbors came out in the morning, I think they all understood what happened. What did I do? I left the house because he changed it. This is a man who would go to work. I was still trying to find what to do there before writing job. This is a man who would go to work, get money, buy things and cook. I was there with his two younger children, but he would come back and cook by himself and dish food for me. I knew there was more to it. And my grandmother's, the wisdom I got from my grandmother came. And I just told myself, no food for you. Because I knew at that point, that man would have done anything to poison me, to make sure I die or to silence me at least. So that was how I left the house, moved into a friend's apartment. Now I'm telling you, we are talking about friends. I was new in this town. And there was a guy who was trying to make passes at me. This guy was asking me out. That was the only place I heard. Yours truly speaking to you, want to move into a guy's house, a young man's house. You stay. This is why, like, when we see people talk about people doing certain things, I always tell people, you don't know this person's story. What she is doing at the moment might not be the best, but you don't know what has led her into it. So I was there until my mom came back. I went to the house to see her, and I told them I came to take my things. My mom started crying. I told her, well, you don't want to leave your manage. That's what I call what she was doing. And that's what I call many of the things I see. But I won't be the one to break it. You'll leave someday. I left. By then I had secured a place. I had secured a place where I served as a sales girl. That shop, I was selling for someone in the shop, and I was sleeping in that shop. I caught up to this story. It will be so long if I put all my sales girl experience for several years, several shops, several people. I worked. I did all the menial jobs you can think about in Kano to survive. But I wrote jam and I got admission. I did everything. That's why when I tell young girls, or even young boys, whatever situation you see, sure I did. They were actually at their own part. The irony of what was happening to me then is, this was a family that really took care of me from childhood to that adolescence. I was the envy of everyone in the community. But at that point, things changed. I was being seen as the worst person. I had to take it. But years later, we all come to terms with, what happened. Up to today, they don't know what happened. But I think I do. If I didn't have, one, the knowledge of life as it's learned in the work, the career message, the life of truth, the career message by Abdul, I would have been far gone. Either I would have killed someone or someone would have killed me. Either I would have been keeping malice. As I speak to you, I hold no grudge, nothing against anyone at my past. Rather, they all played a role in making me well. I also know that they didn't know what happened to them at that point. Because at the stage of adolescence, at that stage in life, a lot of things come up to prepare you, good or bad, for the person that you will become. So when I say I have the first class degree from the University of Life from teenage mistakes, I mean every part of it. Nothing. I did not miss anything. The only thing I missed in my childhood, in my adolescence, is I didn't have the opportunity to play like other children, to mingle with other young people. I was caged. You go to church, and I think today many parents are now beginning to know that caging a child, making him or her to only go to church, attend your religious meetings, is not the best. Because this child is going to end up not being streetwise. The child is not going to end up. I wouldn't know at what point I became. When I started this work, I became one because I turned that this whatever 180-degree round. I turned and got to know everything about the street. Got to know, in anger, that rebellion was to make me do the things that they didn't let me do. So I just had to do all those things. And yes, the man who I never used stepfather for him, never will. Yes, I never did, never will do that. I tell my siblings sorry, as in my mom's children from him. They're not happy that to them I should stop talking about it, but it's not possible. I tell my story, and I go for seminars. I tell my stories, and they're complete. I don't hide anyone. I don't even want to talk about the uncles who family trusted so much, who would come and be chasing me around the house because my grandmother had told them, "Oh, I'm not going to be around." And when he put one of them past his car at the gate, he tell me, "Yeah, you're coming. Mama is not around." He said, "I know. That's why I'm coming." This wasn't a child, though. This man, as at the time, was already a lecturer in one of the colleges of education in the Southeast then.
Wow.
Married with children. But no, he would want to
Hmm.
he would want to touch a child that was related to him. He wasn't just any man. This is a man that if I were to stand with a man on the road, as it was back then, should I see him driving close, I should jump into the bush. That's how we used to do it then, not today again. People who don't jump, people don't run away when they see relatives again. So that it's just that bad. My childhood was well loaded. The good, the bad, the ugly. In all of that, they have they all hated the old gender, the word. Yes, about today. And that's why I'm not going to give up talking to children, talking with children, talking about children, or nurturing the girl child, guiding the girl child, or as it stands today, speaking to boys why negative masculinity is no solution. It is actually to their own disadvantage. That is the part we've now reached, and that is where we are taking it from.
Wow. You know, while you were speaking, a question just popped into my mind. Do you have a book about your life? Because I think this is a story that people should read.
Funny enough, it's a book I started and stopped. I have to start it. On the other side, I think I'll do better at it being an audio book. So I'll just tell my story.
Wow.
No, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I just feel like it being an audio. So you just tell
the project that needs to be worked.
Well, yes, it's something. And the earlier I started, the better. Because it's a lot. It's a lot. Everything I've said here this afternoon, today, didn't cover or it's not possible.
How did all of these experiences affect your sense of self as a child? And later on as a woman, how did it affect your sense of self?
My experience as a child, you see this thing called low self-esteem? It's real. Yes. And it gets into adulthood. It is real. People play down on it. I know what it took me. Even as I became a public speaker to struggle to tell myself, look, you can do it. It affected my personality so much that at a point, let me just give you, I think I should give a tip, or just an example of how that much can affect someone. Because I went to a school sometime in 2024 to speak, and the young man, I was just trying to motivate them, and the young man just told me, a young boy of SS2, just 20, I don't know, right now I feel like a goat. I feel as if I'm a goat. I say, why? What on earth? He said, because my mother calls me a goat at every given opportunity, so I don't see the need to even push and try to do anything again. So I had to start counseling, I had to start talking, I had to start inspiring him. And this is it. When people say certain things around children, the first thing that registered in my mind as a child is, hey, you are a nobody's child. Any matter that involves you a family meeting will be called. Well, my cousins, their parents will just discuss. But if it's something I had to pay money in school, you have to wait until everybody gathers and discuss it. That's really, it's something that I in fact, even as I'm talking about it now, I feel hurt. But of course, not like before. I can only just smile, and when I see a child in my situation, I was like, oh, see, this is what can be. So it's everything that happened affected me. Then the issue of sexual abuse on its own. I will tell you that what it did is that remember I told you that fear became anger. It's made me angry.
Yes.
It's made me want to give my all to ensure it does not happen. But the only regret I have today is that it still happens. It's still happening. Then how did it also affect my life? It also affected my life in the way that a thing called marriage didn't come to me thinking. I'm so up to today, people wonder whether I'm normal. Because at my age, I'm single, I don't miss marriage. You understand? I do not miss it. I'm not saying that if I have a friend, I really like just what marriage should be. I never saw that in my childhood, whether through my mother or the people around me. My granddad had passed on before I was a child, so I didn't know how my grandma was. But it talked a lot about it. But it affected me that at the time I was supposed to be thinking about marriage, I wasn't thinking about it. So I have committed myself to working. That is how it can so much affect you. So you put yourself into one thing and you lock yourself in that one. It takes a lot of recovery process for you to get out of it. So that is what had happened to me. And I have recovered. I have healed fully. But there's never
Yeah, so that actually leads me to the next question, which is on healing. What did healing look like for you? Was there a turning point or a moment of clarity for you? At what point did because I know firsthand, as a firsthand victim myself, I know at the beginning there are times when if you want to talk about this, you'll be in tears, you'll be in so much tears, you can't even talk about it. So at what point did your healing journey begin? And were there specific steps or tools, practices that helped you to just heal from all of these experiences?
Ironically, my life broke all protocols. That's what I would just say. My life has been breaking protocols. The things that people have to take those process to sometimes, because I never really have some opportunities to go through certain things. First, I told you when we did the personality discovery, first I found myself, I was good at talking to people and helping people. And my friends were glad. And I told them I wasn't going to do for a job. They're like, thank God. I said, why? So they didn't know how to tell me because they are looking for a job. And if they tell me not to get, they realize they don't want. So that was it. Then I started doing a lot of things by myself. I started reading. I have read I had to see what other people pass through. I had to sometimes see myself, counseling myself, asking myself certain questions. Then another thing that helped me as an individual, that's that point. Let's say, when I was able to break up the wings of stage frights, which came from low self-esteem, because I couldn't speak in public for anything. Even right from my primary, secondary school, the only time I will answer is questions in class is when the teacher says, I'm going to beat all of you if nobody answers. Meanwhile, I will know the answer. So when I was able to break and say that shame, I knew I had to start telling my stories. I remember when I tell my stories to you the first time, my story. So, like you said, I told my stories and cry and cry until I don't cry again. I would tell the stories today and laughing. Other people are crying. I use my stories today to motivate or to inspire others, to tell them you can get where you want to get to. But then there is need for proper process of healing. And that's why on my own, I have initiated that part to guide people because I didn't really get that proper process. That's one of the things we're trying to put it up in VD. I told you, and I'm doing it for children. So you get to, because for instance, now, in there's a case that came up last week, it came of sexual abuse or any form comes up, or even rape for adults comes up. Everybody jumps now. Social media is not even, when I say it's helping us, it's not helping us. Everyone wants to talk about the case in the social media.
Yes.
Those who try will get manage and follow us to the police. Only if we make it to the courts. In this whole thing, during this whole period, nobody is thinking about the victim, the emotional state of the victim. So that is what I do today. Why people are jumping on last week before I traveled out. I said I was going to have 1 or 2 sessions with that child. They were looking at me. I said, that child comes first to me. She's more important to me than the case. Yes, I believe in getting justice. But you know what? The thing we call justice is simply about getting someone sentenced, right? Does it clear the emotional damage on the victim? No. The child lives with it. The trauma, the child lives with it. So these are the things that my own healing has taught me, the process.
Yeah.
So I now pay attention to people when they are going through. I wouldn't be the one that hear a lady was raped and I begin to blame that lady. Not that point. Because whatever happens, the victim should never take the blame, even if it's going to bring something. Even if you see anything that happened, it has to come later for you to educate the person, not to tell the person, so why were you there? What are you putting on? No. So that's what my healing has taught me. And of course, I am presenting myself for learning. I'm teaching as a gender advocate, as a gender responder, frontline responder, child frontline responder. I educate myself. I have several certificates from UNICEF. Today you can do a lot of things on the internet. I have attended physical training. So you keep just doing it. Keep doing it. And what I'm even looking at today, which I told them in the training at the end of the last week, is those of us who respond, a lot of emotional body is being transferred to us.
Yeah.
So the challenge I'm having presently is no longer from my childhood. It is now what I'm taking over from the victims, which most times you really like touch your what you think had healed. But even if you don't, for those who didn't have that experience, we have to begin now pay attention to frontline responders in mental health. Otherwise, they're going to have a problem. So I'm intentionally taking breaks when they need be, intentionally find a way to go on holidays, to do certain things for myself so that I don't break trying to support others.
Wow. So, talking about the work you do as a gender advocate, what's like the hardest part? I think, are there any other challenges you face apart from what you just mentioned, which is a very critical thing most people don't pay attention to? What's the hardest part of being a woman and child rights advocate in Nigeria or in Africa at large?
Thank you. As a gender advocate, as a frontline responder, first you get tagged as a feminist. You know, people have a negative connotation to feminism. Is funny, really. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so if we call you a feminist, that doesn't matter to me any longer. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Why shouldn't I be whatever you think I am? That's your business. I know who I am. Then, in responding as a responder, we have a situation. Let me bring it down to Africa, Nigeria, the Niger state. And of course, the Nigeria is the same thing. We have the government that has no political will for ending gender-based violence. Government that will prefer to gather people and hold summits and talk, speak long grammar. Government that does not see the need to have a budget line for GBV. So what does that mean? It means that when I go out there and somebody calls me, there's a woman, there's a child, anywhere, there's a boy in danger, that I have to take money from out of my pocket to get to the place, take money from out of my pocket to take the person to the hospital, get to the police, and then to the courts. And you are sponsoring every bit of it. So when there are no grants, which are not coming easily for many Nigerian organizations that are working, funny enough, you know how there's a way they want the Europeans, that's the way they work. When they give grants, they continue to give to the people who they give. So those of us who have never have never received any grants, we keep struggling. We continue to struggle. Why many of those people actually are doing nothing? They will get to the social media, pick our pictures, pick our photos from our pages, and use it to show us programs that they are doing. So not having enough fund is an issue. And that's also affecting why we also we are not getting the funds also, because you need funding, you need money to put things in place to be able to pass the tests that have been put through you. You need workers, you need money, you need an office space, you need to ensure that there is electricity. So these are challenges here.
Let's face it, in today's job market, talent alone isn't enough. You need the right tools to position yourself for the opportunities you deserve. That's where I come in. I offer bespoke career branding services, tailored CVs, compelling cover letters, optimized LinkedIn profiles, creative portfolios, job search support, and interview preparation that gets you results. Are you fresh out of school, switching career paths, relocating overseas? I've helped people in your exact shoes secure life-changing opportunities, and you are no exception. You can go for a one-off service or choose a full package that transforms you from a job seeker to a job magnet. Are you ready to stand out? Send an email to godslightagro99@gmail.com or WhatsApp me on +234 909 378 1187 and let's get started.
Then let's not talk about the law enforcement agents. In Nigeria, most law enforcement agents, the police to be precise, particularly, they see every incident of child abuse, rape, domestic violence. They see it as a money-making venture. So while I'm breaking my head thinking about how to provide money for them, because they will tell you they don't have vehicle to go for arrest, they don't have vehicle to go on to go for scene of crime investigation, all those, you provide money for them. Then they are behind your back, telling the perpetrator and his or her family how to escape, giving them ideas. Why are they doing this? Because when they tell these stories and they sell those ideas to them, the charge, which they now work with, most police, the prosecutors at the courts, may now charge the matter. They'll now water down the charge. So once they get to court, you find out the person will be granted bail, and that will be it. So we go as far as hiring someone on the street to come and say, hey, I'm the father or mother of this child or this person, I no longer want a case. And the case is thrown out. Meanwhile, Nigeria has the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. Abia State has domesticated that. What does it in that? Listen, nobody has in that law. Somebody cannot just walk in and say he wants to end a case, because it is a case. Both rape and defilement, and it has to do with children, are states against this, are crimes against the state, not the individual. So it's going to be the perpetrator versus the commissioner of police. Nobody's going to nobody's going to write the name of the victim on the file. So we will ask them, at what point does the state show that this case actually belongs to it? I go out, spend my money, the state doesn't bring money, this thing gets to court, the case gets to court, someone withdraws it, and the state allows it to go. So these are some of the challenges. It's very, it's heartbreaking. It's heart-rending, I must tell you. So sometimes one is tempted to what am I exactly doing? Why do I bother myself? But we cannot give up. That's the truth. We cannot give up. We've tried the issue of training the police, training the judiciary, but they end up doing what they want to. They actually know what they want to do. Not that they don't know the law. But things could be better if, for instance, the state shows commitment. This goes beyond gathering of people, doing 16 days of activism and wearing orange and walking, and they're showing that it's doing something. If the state should go beyond that, then we'll be able to achieve something. As it is now, the state needs to provide funds for these things. Now, this today, I asked myself, at what point should someone stop responding to cases? Because when our organization does not have funding, you find out that you're wasting your time responding to cases. The only thing you can achieve is save the victim, provide medical help, then cancel the person. Why am I saying so? Because you need a lot of money to settle the police from arrest, filing the case in court, to going for investigation, to the every day the case goes to court, you have to provide. There's a case right now on my table, and I've been thinking, how far can one go with this case? This 6-year-old child that was defiled by a member of a certain church who lured her into the premises, and he is a security guard in that church, and the church is doing everything possible within his power to silence the poor woman who has no husband, or the husband has abandoned her with the children. Now we have dragged the police handling it in Abari Aram had compromised. They've collected money. So I had to petition the commissioner of police, and the case has been transferred to the state CID. Today I was asking myself, how far can you go with this case? Because that woman, for any day she goes to Umuahia, will have to provide her transport and also buy food for her and her 2 children. Then for the case to go to court, you have to provide money for filing. For any day the case go to court, you have to send her to Umuahia with the victim, and also bring the lawyer that goes. You have to provide what the transport money, whatever they call it. Sometimes they say 50, sometimes they say 20,000. So this morning I asked myself, how far can you handle this particular case, given my current situation? So these are the challenges. At the end of the day, you find out that some cases are dead that arrive, they will just die. And this is why the police officers do what they do. Sometimes they will tell the complainant, either the mother of the child or the father, look, don't take this case. When you take it up to my head and make you spend money, let's just settle here. Do you know why they're settling? The settle means that they will call the perpetrator's family or the perpetrator and say, this crime, if we get to court, you're going to be in jail for 21 years. Let's just settle this tonight. They're going to give us, say, 500,000. They can say 750,000. then they will take 20,000 or 50,000 out of that money and give to the complainants. And the problem will come to me, having spent my energy, my time, my money, and say he or she does not want.
I think this is because people really don't understand the long-term consequences or effects of this in the society. They don't really see how deep, or I don't know how to put this, but I feel like we don't really know how to affect
the victim in the long run.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if so what do you think people still don't understand about child sexual abuse and its long-term effect? What do you think they really don't just get? It's something they don't just get, that both for the parents, the society, the people like the police officers and the rest of them.
I think our society is one that does not care about the child. And so, in the long run, they do not care who the
Okay.
child becomes. A society that would rather stay and cry tomorrow that the child has become a criminal, because and then they will cry, lament that this person has become a criminal in future, other than do something they have to do today. Why do I say so? Something happens, the religious organization sets in and wants to cover this crime and calls me names. I have been called names on radio, on TV, on live events. I've been on radio and someone called me accuser of the brethren, whatever that means. I've been called unbelievers, whatever that means. I don't care about what they believe in. So the society, and another problem is, I would say, religion. Religion is a major factor in the sense that our religious leaders play a major. This is a country like for Nigeria, for instance. Nigeria is a place where even an average educated person would take the advice of his religious leader more than he take that of his doctor if he's sick. If somebody today, an averagely educated person, I don't want to talk about the ignorant, the people who are not educated, is said to be down today, let's say it's cancer or any major thing, and the doctor says you have to do this, and the pastor says you don't need to do it. This educated person is going to take the advice of the doctor. A case in point is the rate at which we lose pregnant women who are supposed to give birth. No, it's an aspect of GBV. Supposed to give birth through cesarean section. And their pastors will tell them, it will not happen. You're going to give birth like the Hebrew women. That is part of the problem. So the religious one will tell them, look, you have to forgive, or you don't have to bring in, let the church settle. As I speak to you now, we have issues with a particular community. Because after the religious organization, we have the traditional rulers. Another child of 5 years was defied in a community in Abia State here. And the traditional ruler has, insisted, has structured his subjects. No one reports this matter, or the person will be sanctioned, will set out of the community. He's handling it in his own way. These are crimes that are against the state, remember? Now, this came to my notice. Someone managed to report it to SOS Children's Villages in Abuja. SOS reached Child Protection Network, Nigeria, coordinator, and he reached to me as the state coordinator. They sent a mail as having concern from SOS. Now, I reached out to the ministries. The Ministry of Men Affairs is the ministry in charge of, for me, is the heart of the state and the nation. Because you talk about family, talk about children, talk about women. I forwarded a message with a forwarding mail. I sent to the Ministry of Justice. I sent to the police. Within the same hour, 1 hour, I got those things. It's been 2 weeks. When I reached out, guess the response? We are following it. We need to follow due process. We are on it. Now, when it comes to GBV of anything, whether it's about man, it's about woman, it's about the child, there is no due process. A life can be lost. You don't follow due process in violence. You don't do it. So what happens because we don't have political will? The religious leaders are having their way. Traditional leaders are having their way. And for those of us, for me in particular in the state, I'm seen as someone who is too outspoken, who talks a lot. So it puts me at the danger of being at everybody's, everybody is ganging up around you. She will talk. Yes, because I will talk. For instance, if I walk into the Aba area command of police, at the state police today, all of them will just stop themselves. She has come. There's a case she wants to spoil for us. Because I will insist that you follow due process, you do the right thing, transfer the case to the states. So our people, these things have continued to happen because people don't care about the child. We believe that the child knows nothing. Whatever happens to her does not matter. Then we also have the parents who now see it as it's also, like, call it as ignorance, who also see it as what if something happens to their children is a way of making money. So they'll be, how much will you give me? Let's close this case. Nobody thinks about the child in all of this. Sometimes the child doesn't get any medical attention. So ignorance plays a role in all this. And I'll blame everything, more of the blame on the government. This is because we have laws, we have policies. If these policies are being implemented, if people get punished for their policies, religious leaders, parents, community leaders will sit up. But we have policies that are paper, they're just there. Nobody implements them. Nobody cares. That's all I would say. So putting Onyinyechi Nwosu and the other person who wants to respond at risk all the time. Because there have been times when perpetrators and their families will threaten, put out threats and tell you, do this. The family doesn't even want, and you're pushing. So that is what happens. But because I've been there, because I know what could happen to these children whose voices are not being heard, that's why I've continued to push. And that's why even when we don't have the funding to push and get to court, I'll make sure at least I have sessions with the child. Let's get her mental health. I keep telling people, you see this thing they do on social media? Yes, you can only just create when just shout. That is not how to respond. Not how to, whatever you do that is not following the right path for GBV, that is not it. And prayers are no solution. There are no prevention to child sexual abuse. There are no prevention measure at all. It is prayer is no, it's not a preventive measure. Because this is what we see. People tell you it's not their portion. And they just pray. And they allow. And to make matters worse, in as much as we educate parents and children on how to identify these things and protect them, prevent them, many people will not present themselves for that training. Many people will not present their children for the training to be trained. So you see ignorance playing out. When you have a child, show me a child who knows nothing about boundaries, who doesn't understand safe touch and not safe touch. And I'll tell you a child who is just waiting for one person to come and exploit her, him or her. Wow. So that is it.
So what would you say to a parent that is listening right now? Like a sort of advice?
Well, my simple advice is prevention. Do everything you can to prevent it. Get educated. Read books. Earlier I mentioned that there's a book on a guide for parents on preventing child sexual abuse. That book is available, soft copy, hard copy. Listen to audios. Guide yourself. Join community of parents. Where people talk about child safety. Then have time for your child. Have time for your child or your children. And alone time. You don't need to spend hours in doing that because that's where people misunderstand us. But make sure you understand the personality of each child under your care and find out when there's a change in that child. Ensure that you empower every child around you with the right knowledge, age-appropriate knowledge on sexuality. Age-appropriate. So the child can understand and be able to report when something happens to when he or she sees something. If you leave a child without telling the child is just a victim in the waiting. And now, should it also happen, please, dear parents, ensure to report to the appropriate authority. Don't settle. Don't take money to settle defilement case, please. I think that's all I would tell parents now. And also, ensure that the children also have books that they can read that can guide them. Because I'm saying this because I realize many parents find it very difficult to start off the discussion on sexuality, anything that has to do with sex with their children. So reading the right books for yourself and also for the children, we have My Precious Gifts, Safety Guidelines for Children on Sexual Abuse. When the child has that book, it has pictures, age-appropriate pictures and language. It's written in age-appropriate language. So with that book, it can help you, it will open the path to discussion, path of discussion for you and your child. So there is no shortcuts, dear parents. If you don't tell your child, someone else will. And that person must just be a predator.
Wow. Thank you so much for that advice. So what about a girl or a boy who is just listening now, who has never told anyone what happened to them and they've experienced child sexual abuse, what would you say to such a person who is listening?
Ironically, most every woman I've spoken to, not talking about adult women, mothers, spoken to privately and agreed to having been abused as children, but they never spoke to anyone out of shame
Wow.
or not knowing who to talk to. For the girl child, for the boy child, it has happened to you. First, it's not your fault. Even if you find yourself in places you shouldn't have been, those ones should be being for advice on how to prevent. But if it has happened, you need to find your healing path. And for many people, I know there are people who still prefer not to speak about it. I don't know how you recover, but know what works for you. If you think it will work for you, fine. Then forgive yourself. It wasn't your fault. What many of us suffered for many years is that we are carrying the guilt. This is what happens to many young people. You think it was their fault. So drop the guilt, is not yours. Look for someone you can trust in and disclose this thing, please. Unburden it, drop the load, disclose. Just drop it and cry as much as you can. And present yourself. No, just to be mentored. You have to go through, be under someone. Let someone keep talking to you. Find a company of people who you can really are free to talk to. Locking yourself inside, whether physically, because many of us lock ourselves. We lock ourselves in our mind mentally. We lock ourselves, we don't open up. You lock it. Locking yourself is not the solution. Open up, pour it out, talk about it. You may not be able to talk about it as I'm doing right now. It's less people that will do this. I made the word here. No, I won't expect you to do it if you cannot carry it. I would also have been able to do it in my first years with the speaking. So please, let go. It is not your fault. But then, reports if you can. If you have the, because there's something we do, we get, for you to handle a case, you get informed consent. If you think you can give consent, if you think you can take in the pressure of letting the case be handled, please report it. It's not too late.
Yes.
If you report to me, I also guide you on what to expect because it means your name has to be called. You hear your names, people will talk about you. If you're emotionally strong for that, fine. But if you want to let it go because it happened many years ago, you come out, let's talk about it. I'll always be available to talk. I'll always be available. My shoulder will always be here for you to cry on. You need to find someone. The person mustn't be there to scream for you. I know. I think for here I can say, I know what it's like. I can boldly say that. There are certain things I would say, I don't want to imagine what just take her. But this, I know what it's like. In as much as no two persons experience the same thing the same way, I know what could likely be happening to you. So please, open up, free yourself, forgive yourself, then prepare, get yourself empowered, read, talk, listen to whatever will empower you so that you will not be a victim again. I say this because in my almost 20 years working in this field, I have found out that, in fact, a few days ago, I had to go to a psychologist asking him, please, what is what is it behind it that makes people to become victimized over and over again? For somehow, predators, I don't know whether it's on their faces, they know it on the faces of the people. So you see the same child, the same young person, when he or she moves into a place, among 10 people, that child will be the same person that will be abused by another person in a place that which was never born before. So you need to really get yourself empowered. So that fear that is in you that attracts people, that low self-esteem that attracts predators will leave you. So speak, talk. If you don't want to talk, read, empower yourself. But I don't know how much healing you get until you're able to talk to at least one person. If you don't want it to be heard, you can tell the person that you don't want your story to be heard, but you want to air yourself. Just want to air your mind. That you want to unburden, but not that you want the case to be taken up. You have a right to say yes or no, my dear. The case cannot be taken, especially for here, that the government is not taking up the case. If you just want to talk about it and you don't want anybody to do a case for you, establish a case, so be it. It's your mental health that matters to me at the moment. So that you grow up into an adult who has unburdened, who will not become a sad adult, who will transfer everything on her children or every other adult around him or her. See, today I tell people, we get to offices, we see our colleagues who are being antagonistic. Our brothers or sisters marry and we see in-laws who are just angry at everything. We have colleagues who anything you do is trouble. And we think these things are a joke. They are not joke. Show those people. I sit with them for 10 minutes and I'll show you I will have a trace from their childhood of what has led to those things. So we need to begin to take childhood as it is the foundation of the life of every person. Unfortunately, in Africa, we do not understand this. So we keep having problems. So, dear young one, talk to someone, wake up, it's not your fault. And make sure you don't find yourself where it will happen to as much as possible. Because it's not in all cases that being careful works. They get empowered, read, talk to someone. That will be it.
Awesome. We could go on and on with this conversation. It's been over an hour already, and I've learned so much. And I also believe our listeners have learned a lot from this conversation. I'm a big fan of the work that you do, and I believe some people would also be interested to learn more about your work. So how can people support your work and amplify your message? How can they connect with you if they would like to get in touch?
Well, I would love people to get in touch. I would love people to support. Well, OJ is on social media. On Facebook, as Onyinyechi J Nwosu OJ. There for the work I do with children. The Vivacious Development Initiative is also on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on X handle. Then you can reach me via email ojnconsults@gmail.com. That's also vivacious.initiative@gmail.com. Then we also on LinkedIn, Onyinyechi J Nwosu, and also Vivacious. And therefore, all the work we do. And we so appreciate your support because the task is enormous. I would say the vineyard is large, it's huge, but the laborers are few. And the laborer in this case is just not just human beings, the funding. We don't have funds to do what we need to do. And talking about fund, this particular case, if I could get support for this case right now, the case of that 6-year-old, that's the police, because we thought they're able to push it to the courts, I would so appreciate it. Because this word, her husband abandoned her with 5 children. She just was calm. She doesn't have anything. Any day you take her out, you have to buy food for her and the children. And she won't be able to support this case. And Vidya at the moment does not have fun. And I wouldn't want that case to go down. A 25-year-old man defied a 6-year-old. And the church, a very big church in Aba, has given about 700,000 naira to the police to close the case. You see what I'm up against. So any support for this case will be wholly welcome.
All right. That has been a very nice conversation. Thank you so much, Ma Onyinyechi J Nwosu, for your time. Thank you for sharing your story with us, and thank you for the advice and wisdom you've shared. And I hope our listeners have been inspired by your story, just like I have been. I've been truly inspired by your story right from the first time we met up till now. I don't know if you have any last words just before we call it a night or call it a day.
Yeah, my last word is for everybody. The world will become a better place if we all join hands to create a safer environment that everybody can thrive. Nobody should be subjected to any form of violence due to the person's gender or age. Let's work together to create an environment where everyone is peaceful, because human rights is not it's for everyone. It's not for men only. It's not for women only. It's not for older people only. Let's respect the rights of everyone, and most importantly, let everyone that can hear this, that's listening to me now, know that child protection is the responsibility of all. Protect every child around you, not just your own child. Pay attention to things that happen around you. When you see a child in a place that you are not sure what is happening, stop. Don't be too much in a hurry and pay attention and ask questions and be sure that this child is safe. Because, my dears, today's child is tomorrow's adult. So we raise children who are characterized by violence. they will grow up to become aggressive adults who will cause problems for everybody. So let's make a better place for all of us by paying attention to everything that happens to everyone around us by supporting one another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Thank you so much for this session. I really enjoyed it, and I hope our listeners have been inspired by this. So much for sharing. I wish you all the best in the work that you do, and I hope you get the support that you seek. So I'm going to put in all of your contact details in the description, the emails and social media handles, so that everyone who wants to reach out can reach out and help in amplifying the work that you do. Well done, Ma, from all of us here. Keep doing what you do. We are so proud of the work that you do. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I really hope this story would inspire someone somewhere who is just really feeling terrible and thinking they are all alone, they are victims of sexual violence, and they don't even know who to speak to. I really hope this story inspires them and lets them know that they could actually rise up and become anything that they want to be. Thank you so much, Ma, for your time.
Thank you. It was a privilege.
Hey, real quick before we end, if you've been listening and thinking, maybe one day I'll tell my story, this is your sign. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to be honest. Honest is a space for real people, real voices, and real stories. So if you've lived through something that changed you, grew you, hurt you, or freed you, let's talk. If you know someone whose story you find inspiring, an African woman you would love us to invite, tell us in the comments below. Email us at onyinyespodcast1@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram at onyinyespod_. We're waiting. The world needs your story, not a perfect one, a true one. Like this episode, share with your friends and family, comment the moments that got you the most or the lessons you've learned. Rate us a 5-star so that the episode gets recommended to more people. I'll see you in another episode.